In a time where light whips can cost you more than a good TV, we bring you 3 good options for $100 or less. Coming up. That's gotta be the weirdest intro we've ever done. Say, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I'm Chris, this is Navigate Off-Road, helping you explore the unpaved with off-road information, destinations, and reviews. So, if that sounds like the bee's knees, think about hitting that subscribe button. Today, we wanted to cover 3 good budget light whip options because, quite honestly, there's a frickload of light whips out there. And make sure you stick around to the end because these are all good, but they do have their own things about them that, you know, you might like more than the other one. But the last one, to be honest, is from a company that I've been following for a while, and it's probably my favorite one. So with that, let's go ahead and get started.
So the first thing that I'm gonna do is actually disconnect all of these except the one we're gonna talk about as we go through them. And that's something to actually keep in mind. If you already have a light whip and you go to get another light whip, while the brands might be different and you might get a new remote, they interfere with each other. So you might hit blue for this one, but then that one over there goes red because different remote, different brand, but they're still gonna kind of read the infrared remotes from each other and all. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect these and we'll get started. All right, so the first one we're gonna talk about is the Addsafety 4-foot light whip. This thing is awesome. I mean, this is a fantastic light whip for the cost. At the time of this video, it comes in at about $75. And with this one and all the other ones, we'll put a link in the show notes below so you can go down, check it out, see current pricing, read more about it. This is not sponsored. None of these companies are paying us to make this video. However, we do have an affiliate program set up through Amazon. So if you click the links, they're all available on Amazon. We get a very small percentage of the sale from Amazon. So it would be much appreciated if you use our links. All right, so the Addsafety, I'm gonna unplug this for now. I wanna show you some things on this. Now, one thing I absolutely love about this light whip is the 360-degree spiral design that it has. The company really, they pride themselves on that, and I think it really creates an awesome look. And it's not really unique to them, like that exists elsewhere, but for the price point, this is not very common, especially to find one of this quality. All right, and it's got a clear, thick plastic tubing around it. You know, it's said to be very durable. Like every freaking light whip out there basically says that. So make sure when you start looking at them, if you don't get one of these, read the reviews because everybody says that, and you start looking at the reviews through Amazon or wherever, and there's a lot of, yeah, this thing broke right away or water got in it right away. So make sure you read the reviews. All right, this one's pretty solid. It's got a good solid build. Speaking of water, this is IP67 rated. That's gonna basically, for the most part, any rain, mud, things like that, you shouldn't have an issue with. If you submerge it underwater for long periods of time, that's where you could, you know, possibly see issues, but I don't know when that's gonna necessarily happen. Now, another thing to look at when you get these, and again, this has a fantastic one, is the quick disconnect. This has a great quick disconnect. It pops right on and off. Very, very solid build. Pro tip though, don't ever buy a light whip that does not have a quick disconnect. Most of them do. Some of them suck, but most of them do. But there are still some out there, so just make sure when you're looking at the description and reading about it, ensure that it's got a quick disconnect on it. All right, now as far as this one, it's got a ton of options when it comes to colors and modes and all that. It comes with a remote control that you can change all these options however you want. Again, the 360-degree spiral effect of this is super awesome. I really dig that. You can change the colors, you can change the modes, you can change the brightness. So, I mean, it's awesome to just find one with all these features for this kind of price point. Now, 2 final things to mention on this specific light whip before moving on. It does come with a flag. We don't have it connected right now, but that's great because a lot of ATV parks and private areas that allow riding require a whip and a flag. It doesn't have to be a light whip, so I mean, you could, if you just need to meet that requirement, you can get them cheap. But in this case, you're gonna be able to get the light whip, and then you could just attach the flag if you want it, or if you go somewhere where it's actually required. The final thing about this that's really a downer is it does not come with an actual light whip bracket. None of these do. However, they do come with an actual mount. Now, I know that sounds weird because I just said it doesn't come with a bracket, but it comes with a mount. But a lot of side-by-sides, for example, they are already designed to just screw right into the side-by-side. You'll have a very small hole on either side of your side-by-side. I think it's like a 3/4 inch, something like that, that this type of accessory is meant for. So again, in that case, on a side-by-side, most of them, like I think almost all of them, you're gonna be fine. So just look for that type of, that hole that it can be installed into. So you're gonna need the mounting bracket if you're putting this on an ATV. Pretty inexpensive, very easy to install. I'll put a link in the show notes below for that as well. All right, let's start talking about the next one, which is gonna be the Beatto 5-foot light whip. And I wanted to put this one in here because it's a little different. It's unique in the fact that the tubing is darker. You don't see a lot of these darker light whips, and the difference is, and the reason for that is it's gonna provide a much softer light. So these ones, they can dim, as can this one, but it's just gonna provide an overall softer light. So if you're looking for something that's just gonna be a little different than most options you're gonna see out there, this is something to consider. That softer light is really gonna provide you the light whip, but it's not gonna be so, hey, here's a light whip in your face, if you will. Again, it's made of a not clear, a tinted plastic tubing. Pretty durable, as you can see. I can bend this pretty good. Quick disconnect, much like the other one. Great style of quick disconnect. I love this style where you can just pull this down, you snap it on, and you let go. When we look at colors on this thing, we have 300 color options. This thing, again, has a remote control, and the options are basically endless on this thing. As you're watching it here, this thing can dance, it can flash, it can stack, it can even put on a sequential light show. So this thing is just packed full of options. I can't ever imagine you're gonna hit a point where you're tired of all of them. Again, much like the other one, it's waterproof up to a certain point. If you submerge it and leave it underwater overnight, you might be out of luck, but for the most part, you should be pretty solid. Also on this one, it's said to be good up to -20 degrees Fahrenheit, which seems pretty good to me, because while it gets colder than that here, I'm generally not gonna go ride my ATV at -25. So if you do, I guess, leave your light whip turned off. Now, again, the thing to keep in mind with this one is the darker tubing. So if you're looking for bright and you just want it to be in your face, this probably isn't gonna be the option for you. But if that's not the case, it is definitely something a little more unique and less seen out on the trail. All right, the last one, and probably my favorite. This here is the Gorilla Whip light whip. It's a 4-foot whip. Now, I actually have a confession right up front. This light whip is $105 at the time of this video, and that's because it's the 4-foot options. I screwed up. I meant to get the 3-foot ones, which come in at under $100 at $95. Now, this light whip is awesome. This is kind of, honestly, it's considered the lower end option of the Gorilla Whips, but their lower light whip option is still fan-freaking-tastic. The build quality is phenomenal. They've got all sorts of different features. Let's just talk about a few that really start to separate this. It's still gonna come with a quick disconnect option. It's gonna install into the machine just like the other ones would in that like 3/4 inch hole on your side-by-side. No brackets included, so you wouldn't need that for the ATV if that's the route you're gonna go. And it's gonna come with a wired remote. So at $95, you get a wired remote. But this is where it starts to get awesome with this company. You can accessorize the crap out of this. So you're like, I want a wireless remote. For a few extra dollars, they send you a part and it makes it into a wireless remote. You get the remote, you get the cord. It is super easy to install. It's not like you have to do all this wiring. It's like plug and play. It's awesome. And then there's tons of other options as well. For example, one that I think is awesome that I don't have here to show you, but it's super cool, is the RGB Bluetooth music controller. And that's not a huge add-on. To even be able to add that on for, I think at the time of the video, again, I think it's about $30. To be able to add that kind of feature on to a light whip that's under $100 is just awesome. It's awesome. Now, again, tons of other accessories, and you could basically just go down the drop list if stuff you want to add. You don't have to. If you want to keep it under $100, you do not have to. But again, it's awesome that you can do that. And another fantastic thing about this light whip, the build quality is great, and it comes with a lifetime warranty. I'm not even kidding you, a lifetime warranty. So if it's a manufacturer defect, they'll just replace it. But if you break it, let's just say you're out on the trail and just like, or you get mad, you just boom, and you break this thing in half, they will still replace it for 50% of the cost. So that's a lifetime warranty, not like 6 months down the road, because you know, these things can take a beating. I mean, even a good light whip can take a serious beating over the years. And the fact that they're gonna give it a lifetime warranty, I think says a lot about the company. Now, I'm sure you've picked up on it by now as you've been seeing this as I've been talking, but just tons of options, you know, different patterns, different color lights, brighter, dimmer, just a multitude of options available to you. Again, I can't ever imagine you're gonna get to a point where you're tired of all the patterns and options available. Now, another awesome thing about this, all right, if you want to spend more money, or if you want to spend more money down the road, you just get this now, but down the road, Gorilla Whips has like rock lights and glow kits available. So basically, if you want to add more to your side-by-side, let's say you want to get some under lighting or some lighting in the bed of your machine, you can sync it all together, which is awesome. And again, you don't have to buy it on now. You could still sync it all together at a later time. Again, just the options when it comes to the Gorilla Whips are fantastic. Now, there is one con to this thing, the lack of wiring. It's basically not enough to make it from the back of your side-by-side, run it up to the battery where it needs to be. And by the way, when it comes to wiring on all these, extremely easy. You don't need to be an electrician. You could pretty much anybody can do it on their own, or just find a YouTube video. We've even done it on how to wire them up. They're very easy to wire up. All right, so we've covered 3 different light whip options. I know there's 4 up here. Technically, those are both the same. They're both Gorilla Whips. So my question to you is, do you have a light whip? And if so, which kind? If not, is it because you just don't care? Or is it because they can be extremely expensive and a lot of the cheaper ones suck? I'm gonna go ahead and leave it with that. I hope this was informational. If you are looking for a light whip, I hope this helped you out. I really do. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to see you on the trail.